Go, let's go. Go. 3, 2. Oh man. More debris falling from a nearby building, the World Trade Center. We're at West Broadway and Barclay. Very difficult to breathe here, but look around. This must have been ground zero where this thing blew up. Car after car after car. Buses completely obliterated and burned straight down to the steel. Car after car after car, buses completely obliterated and burned straight down to the steel. We are in an abandoned skyscraper, and quite frankly, I don't even know where I'm at. I see a sign outside that just gives me a reference of Barclay Street. As you can see all around here, the windows have been blown completely out. And as we take a walk towards the front of the building here, you want to take a look outside. If you have never been to war, like I have never been to war, then this is what it looks like. We don't know what that building is. We don't know where this building is, but they're obviously on fire. Maybe there's a chance that they could collapse.
Okay, let's do a recap. Here you can see that there's not a lot of debris on these cars, but all of them have suffered blast damage. All the windows are gone. Everything seems to have been burnt pretty well. Also notice even the newspaper dispenser has been knocked awry. The severe heat and fire damage is obvious. Here it seems even the door handles are missing. All the windows in every vehicle are shattered, perhaps from the heat, but it seems again like a blast. Okay, this is perhaps one of the most interesting views. Notice there's no debris from overhead building collapse. Most of this stuff is from heat damage or fire. Not a lot of cars crushed from the things that have fallen. Again, this is a little ways away from the actual main shebang, if you will. But all the windows are gone, all the glass is gone, everything has literally been cooked. We're talking extreme heat. The insides of these cars and vehicles is melted. Here toward the top looks like a speaker. I mean, the dash is just pretty well melted out, gone. Literally. It's almost like some sort of an EMP or something went off and caused all these things to ignite. Again, definitely some heat. Even the tires are burned off. These things just sitting in the street right where they were and just flat melted out. Everything burnt to a crisp. Again, this looks like some sort of explosion. These are the kinds of scenes you would see almost in a battlefield or a war zone for real. Notice here again too, the door handles even seem to be missing.
And burned straight down to the steel.
Something else I found interesting here, you can see there's at least 2 different floors, looks like 4 rows of windows there, that are completely blown out. There's fire obviously in those 2 floors on this particular building. What would have actually caused those to blow out or blow in with such extreme force? Something else interesting that might be worth noting, there was a lot of debris, like here you see plastic and cloth and stuff like that, that wasn't burnt. Now this is just above where all of these cars were ignited, so this is definitely debris that has fallen or flown from the destruction, the original destruction, I suppose. But it's interesting that so many things that were flammable didn't ignite, and yet again all of the vehicles just went up quick. Now here's an actual example of one of the cars being crushed by fallen debris. Would have thought where all the others were burnt and stuff you would see more of this. A lot of this information was kept out of mainstream media, you know, the behind the scenes. But the main point of this video was not to have you question whether or not 2 airplanes could have caused the destruction you see here in New York back on 9/11. But rather the point to be made in this video is this.
There's one thing that defines everyone over the course of these early years of this new century. That thing is the 9/11 attack. Everyone in government in every field of endeavor the world over is defined by their position on this event. It is not necessary to know the truth. It is only necessary to know the extent of the lies in order to define any leader in any position anywhere in the world. By what they have said and by what they have not said, one can accurately judge who is an enemy of the peoples of the world. One can accurately determine who is a tool of the psychopaths, or one of them. Think about what you allow yourself to know. Think about what you pass by, ignore, deny, and defend that defines you. It defines the degree of your personal courage, your relationship to the truth, your values, your principles, and what you will pass on to your children and everyone you meet. It tells you, in that place where your conscience must once have lived, whether you are a hypocrite and a fool, or whether something greater still lives within you. 19 men pass through airport security. 11 of them are stopped and questioned, but then allowed to board. Several large passenger planes wind up hijacked and flown at high speed into enormous buildings. None of these men had shown previous capacity to accomplish this feat. These men were armed with box cutters. No jet fighters were scrambled to intercept these planes, although the authorities in charge of such actions knew immediately what was happening. Airport traffic controllers were ordered to destroy all recorded evidence of the event. Some of them physically broke the CDs and scattered the pieces into different trash containers at the airports. Within hours, 3 of the biggest buildings in the city, buildings designed to absorb the impact of the very planes which hit them, all crumbled into their own footprints at the speed of free fall. It was said that the fire, which burned below the melting point of steel, caused this to happen. No fire in history had previously accomplished such a thing, not once. Previous fires had burned hotter and longer, yet no building fell. Now, 3 have fallen in one day. Months later, the wreckage burned white hot beneath the surface, and clear cuts and support beams were photographed. A passport from one of the hijackers appears on a city street, undamaged. Cars are discovered at airports with flight training videos and Qurans. Apparently the men who were deeply religious enough to give their lives to attack these buildings thought nothing of leaving their sacred texts behind. Some weeks later, 7 of the alleged hijackers are found to be alive in their native countries. Some days earlier, some of these men were observed drinking and having lap dances in a Florida bar. This sort of behavior is not normal for such men as these. Around the same time, the ringleader of these men and some associates were observed by the FBI boarding a gambling boat belonging to Jack Abramoff. These men were tracked to Las Vegas and watched by the FBI, yet they passed through the airport security checkpoints. Even though 11 of them were stopped and questioned, they still boarded. On the day of the event, several men were observed videotaping the attack as it happened. They were seen to be dancing and celebrating as well. The police stopped and arrested them. They were found to be Mossad agents. Sometime later, they were quietly released and returned to their home country with no reasons given. The men videotaping and celebrating had to have known about the attack in advance in order to have been in a position to film it. Members of the Bin Laden family, the man accused of masterminding the attack, were immediately flown out of the country. Bin Laden denied any connection to this attack. Direct evidence of this exists, and no evidence of his admitting his involvement exists. All of this is fabrication and hearsay. No one can present such information other than one fabricated video that was proven false by the world's leading forensic experts in Switzerland. Many insist it is true, but no one has such evidence. Go look. Show it to me. As a result of this event, major wars have been launched. Over 1 million people have died, with nearly another 5 million displaced. An investigation was launched into the event against the wishes of the president and vice president, and rubber-stamped with pre-dawn conclusions, even though the evidence did not support these conclusions. The wreckage was gathered together and shipped overseas. no one was allowed to investigate it. In every event in New York City, in a Pennsylvania field, at the Pentagon, all of the evidence is contradictory. The amount of evidence on every level that directly refutes what we have been told fills thousands of pages. Meanwhile, the administration and the Congress belligerently oppose any inquiry into the matter. People in government who have questioned the official story have been fired from their jobs or driven from office by the very party they are a member of. University professors are fired for discussing it. Major websites composed of experts in their fields are ignored and even censured. Casual investigation of who benefited and who engineered actions of global impact based on official 911 findings all lead to the same parties. It is incontrovertibly true that one organization, PNAC, called for an attack on American soil in order to facilitate what followed. Members of this organization held key positions in and around the present administration. Therefore, here is what you must know, given that the official story is patently absurd. Anyone who promotes the official story, who accepts the official story, who oppresses those who doubt the official story, who does not question the official story, is involved or too stupid to pat their head and chew gum at the same time. Any presidential candidate who does not dispute the official story is a traitor to their nation and a tool of those who accomplished this attack. It all comes down to 911. Everything that has happened based on a lie. Everyone in government, in the media, in entertainment, in organized religion, in the public eye, and in the public who accepts and promotes the official story is either a traitor or a tool. Everyone who does not stand forth and speak truth to power is a coward, a liar, and complicit in mass murder. Everyone, everywhere can be measured according to this litmus test.
You're going to help people lose.
Well, I think it's all about support, isn't it? It is a thought, isn't it? But
Yes.
it is about support, and Weight Watchers is really about help.
People, you know, the kids today think that they invented mojitos. They're in the bars now. They're very popular. My grandparents were drinking mojitos.
And we do have some breaking news that we want to bring you around, and we're going to go to a live picture from New York City.
That a plane may have hit one of the two towers.
What do the intelligence people there say about that?
The intelligence community for some time has been warning in a steady drumbeat, Brian, that Osama bin Laden has not been heard from now, frankly, since the beginning of the year. The USS.
Some of the key suspects come to mind. Osama bin Laden.
As you've studied him, what can you tell us about him that we don't know? Take us to the core of Osama bin Laden.
To say to the world that this is a unified nation in the face of tragedy.
In places near to where the tragedies are playing out and far away, Americans are trying to figure out what to do in the face of hopeless grief and sympathy and anger.
Some Palestinians are openly delighted over the attacks. Images like these have embarrassed moderate Arabs. They know that they risk hardening world opinion against the Palestinians, and perhaps even against Arabs in general.
The second ranking person at the Defense Department has laid out what he said will be eventually a sustained U.S. military effort. And so what needs to be done is mount a swift, sure, overwhelming military operation that deals with Osama bin Laden and the Taliban because they've been protecting him.
It's a very sophisticated operation.
Oh, you bet. This is serious business, and there's not one of those. There are many of those.
Are you concerned about asbestos contamination?
The health department has done tests, and at this point, is not concerned.
We have first-hand descriptions of biological weapons factories on wheels and on rails.
The Iraqi regime has plotted to develop anthrax.
Of course we're after Saddam Hussein, bin Laden. He's isolated.
The terrorists attacked us and killed 3,000 of our citizens before we started the freedom agenda in the Middle East. They were... What did Iraq have to do with what?
The attack on the World Trade Center.
Nothing.
The United States military has begun strikes against Al-Qaeda terrorist training camps and military installations of the Taliban regime in Afghanistan. On my orders, coalition forces have begun striking selected targets of military importance to undermine Saddam Hussein's ability to wage war.
In a limited military action in Libya in support of an international effort to protect Libyan civilians.
But the death of Al-Qaeda's founder and spiritual leader does not end the terror threat. Across America today, heavily armed police bolstered patrols at airports from Boston to Los Angeles.
There are things that are being now done in Heathrow Airport that, as an experiment of using iris scan as a way to check into the airport.
Investigations are often slowed by a limit on the reach of federal search warrants.
Mikey Hicks' family says he's been treated like a terror suspect every time he flies. The airlines say he's on a TSA watch list, even though Mikey is just 8 years old.
The CIA admitted that waterboarding was used on terror suspects in 2002 and 2003, but claimed its agents couldn't be prosecuted because they'd been told it was legal.
I don't want the mosque here.
Why don't you want the mosque?
Why? Because I don't want to go through the Constitution. I know what the Constitution says, but they are spitting in our face, the mosque people.
Our nation is at war against a far-reaching network of violence and hatred, and that we will do whatever it takes to defeat them and defend our country.
We will incarcerate people preventively. Preventive incarceration. Indefinite detention without trial. That's what this is.
Right now, the Bush people are bringing out their mission accomplished sign because they've not only gotten Obama to protect Bush and Cheney and others from any criminal investigation on torture, but he's now gone even further than they did in the protection of unlawful surveillance.
To know that I might not be so eloquent tonight because I'm suffering from a severe case of outrage. Honestly, I can tell you without reservation, I've been throughout this country now, and I've been in a whole lot of airports. And me undressing for TSA at the airport does not enhance my security, and it certainly doesn't protect me, and it doesn't have a darn thing to do about 911.
I just want to leave you with this. We are not the conspiracy theorists. We are those who want to expose the conspirators behind 9/11. So we are the conspirator hunters, not the theorists, the hunters.
And I understood very well that bin Laden was a creation of the CIA. Al-Qaeda was a U.S. intelligence asset, and that what struck me at first was to say, well, if Osama bin Laden and Al-Qaeda are those responsible for the 9/11 attacks, then my answer would be, who is behind bin Laden and Al-Qaeda?
But you have to see both sides of the argument and make a decision for yourself. That's what it comes down to. And you have to be really open-minded, and you can't lose focus of the fact that the media is deeply involved in perception management. That's the truth. And you know, everybody has to know that war is never a solution for anything. That's essentially what I have to say.